Oh boy, do I got a build for you guys today. Alright, so I've been playing around with Prismatic for about, I don't know, since the release of the games, for about a week now. Just to kind of give my thoughts on it at the same time. I like it. It's definitely something new. Just being able to synergize with every single subclass and ability fragment in the game basically into one super, basically, into one ultimate, super basically is just insane to me. But the build today I got for you guys is a Syntheseps Titan build that is really good. If you guys already know what Syntheseps does, its exotic perk is Biotic Enhancements, basically granting enhanced reload and handling when surrounded by enemies. Not only that, it's also going to be giving us bonus melee damage and super damage as well. That's basically the gist of it. So for our super for this build, that's really going to be the icing on the cake for the entire thing, is going to be Twilight Arsenal, which is the new Titan Void super that came into the game. This super is disgustingly good. I love this super. This is probably one of the best damage supers in the game, in my opinion. Just because of the fact that when the first axe hits the target, specifically a boss, because you're going to be using this for boss DPS most of the time, this super hits bosses like a truck, and when you weaken the boss, that's when this thing and the damage really starts to scale with this thing, especially if you're surrounded. I just tested this in Onslaught, and I'm pretty sure I did a pretty big chunk of the boss's health simply from just throwing this super at him when I was also surrounded by a bunch of enemies. I ran up really close to make sure I was surrounded, so I got that buff. That way this adds onto it. This exotic perk with this super does stack, by the way. Let me make that very, very clear. For our abilities, we're going to be running the Frenzy Blade for Sever, and we're also going to be running Suppressor Grenade for the suppression. You can run the Shackle Grenade, which is the Strand Grenade. You can run that. It's really up to you. I run the Suppressor Grenade just because I want to have a light ability and a dark ability. So for the aspects, we're going to be running Knockout. Whenever we get a arc damaged kill, basically, we're going to get our health back and stuff like that. But since it really doesn't matter what melee you're running with this, you don't have to run an arc melee. You can run literally any melee for Titan, and you will get the perks of Amplified from this. So let me just say that right now. That's pretty much the gist of that. We are running Consecration just because of the sheer fact that if I have 3 of my Frenzy Blades stacked, so if I have 3 charges of it, I can use Consecration 3 times. Let me say that again. I can use Consecration 3 times with this. This is hilariously funny, because if you're in a bit of a pickle, you can clear the ads with this pretty quickly just by using Consecration a couple of times. Love this aspect. Love it. One of my favorite aspects in the game. Now for Fragments, Faucet of Balance. Rapidly defeating targets with light damage grants melee energy. Rapidly defeating targets with darkness damage will grant you grenade energy. Kind of see the balance here. I am running the Call, which is the new strand sidearm in the kinetic slot. That'll be my darkness damage to where I can get grenades back pretty quickly. And then obviously I'm running Graviton Lance for the light damage, so I can get my grenade energy pretty quickly. The Faucet of Bravery. Whenever I get a grenade final blow, it's similar to the Echo of Instability, which is the volatile round aspect, or excuse me, fragment for the Void subclasses. This is basically that in a nutshell. Really no explanation here except for the fact that what's added onto this is whenever you get a melee final blow, you will get unraveling rounds to your strand weapons. So that's the bonus to this, and this is just a better fragment overall, which is why I'm running it. The Faucet of Sacrifice. Whenever you have a Arc, Solar, or Void buff, your ability final blows grant you bonus Darkness Transcendence energy. So, plus you get the plus 10 Discipline to this. We also have another one here that's a plus 10 Discipline. This is the Faucet of Courage. Now, the reason, this is why I'm running a Darkness melee ability. Darkness debuffs. See that in the left corner right here. Darkness debuffs include Slow, Freeze, Sever, Suspend, and Unravel. Now, for this fragment, if you probably already read it, Arc, Solar, Void abilities deal increased damage to targets afflicted with Darkness debuffs. So whenever I tag an enemy with a darkness debuff, so for example, Sever, my light side abilities are going to do more damage to that enemy. So if I sever a boss, then I have biotic enhancements active as well, because I'm surrounded by a bunch of enemies, and then I activate my super, I'm going to do more damage to that boss just because that boss is severed. You get the idea. Finally, we're going to be running the Faucet of Purpose. Picking up an orb will grant me either Amplified Restoration, Frost Armor, Woven Mail, or Overshield based on the damage type of my equipped super. I'm running Twilight Arsenal. I'm going to pick up an orb and get a Void Overshield. Pretty self-explanatory. Let's go over the armor mods real quick. Armor mods. I'm going to be running Hands-On for the helmet, a Heavy Ammo Finder, and a Harmonic Siphon. For our arms, we're going to be running Heavy-Handed, Impact Induction, and then a Harmonic Loader. For our chest, I'm running Void Reserves just because I got a Void Heavy weapon. And then obviously your damage resistance mods, pick your poison there. For the leg armor, I'm running 2 Void Weapon Surges and a Void Scavenger. And then finally for our mark, our class item, we are going to be running Outreach, Reaper, and Bomber. Pretty self-explanatory. Pick up an orb, get your abilities back. Basically, this build is all about getting your abilities back pretty quickly and being able to debuff enemies and just do a shit ton of damage, but also staying alive as much as possible. That's this build in a nutshell. This build is actually disgusting. It's really good. If you don't have a good build and you have like a decent piece of Syntheseps armor that is a decent roll, run it. This is a good Syntheseps, build right here. It's a pretty good build. It's not like the Bonk Titan build back when we were running 1-2 punch and then tractor cannon with the with the old Bonk build. It's nothing like that, but this is something that's completely different. It's new, it's fresh, and it works really well. Everything synergizes really well with this build. For our weapons, I think I said it already. I'm running the Call, which is the new strand sidearm, rocket sidearm that came into the game. I have lead for gold on it. I'm trying to get the god roll for it right now, so I'm trying to farm it out. Graviton Lance. Remember back when I said that whenever you get a light, whenever you get that light light damage kill, so in other words, whenever I'm shooting someone with Graviton Lance, my melee energy is going to come back pretty quickly. Why am I running Graviton Lance then? It's perk. The second shot of a burst will rip holes through space and time, doing high damage and recoil with no follow-up. Whenever I get a kill with this gun, it's going to send out these tracking grenade type orbs that will start tracking enemies, and if you shoot this at a horde of enemies, that horde of enemies is gone. That horde of enemies is not going to survive this. This is why I'm running this gun. This gun with this build just makes it insanely good, and I can get my melees back really, really fast just by doing this. Last but not least, artifact mods. Let's talk about that real quick. The mods I am going to recommend you guys have for this build are the Galvanic Armor. So whenever I'm amplified, I'm going to take reduced damage. That stacks with the 100 resilience that I have as a Titan. Radiant Orbs, whenever I pick up a Orb of Power, I'm going to also get not only Void Overshield, but I'm going to get but I'm going to become Radiant, and I'm going to get the, 25% damage increase to my guns, which, who doesn't want more damage for their guns? Let's be honest real quick. The one artifact mod I am going to recommend with this build personally is Shield Crush. I am trying to go for this next because I have heard this is really good with this build too, and it just makes this build, this is like another icing on the cake type of thing right here. This mod right here will increase your melee damage simply from having a Void Overshield. Every time I pick up an Orb of Power and get that Void Overshield, bam, I'm going to be doing a lot more melee damage. And then whenever I'm amplified or radiant, my grenades will recharge faster and deal increased damage. This mod sounds like it's insane, and hence why I'm going for it. Finally, Transference, which will be the final mod for this build. Like I said, I don't have it yet because I'm not even close. I haven't even started grinding bounties yet. I've been grinding everything else but bounties and XP in this game. Whenever I gain increased grenade and melee damage while I'm Transcendent, so when I think I'm in Transcendence, if I'm reading this right, whenever you're in Transcendence, my grenade and my melee damage will be increased. My weapon final blows while Transcendent will also refund my light and dark energy after Transcendence ends. So in other words, when I'm back to the recharge phase for Transcendence, whatever gun I'm using, it'll grant me the light and dark energy. So in other words, I can get Transcendence back pretty quickly just from this build. That's all I'm going to say for this build, guys. The gameplay, everything will speak for itself. Like I said, I just need 2 more mods, so I don't have the full effect of everything in this build properly. But when you have all these mods, you can kind of see why this build is really good. So anyways, I'm going to let the gameplay play out. Thank you all so much for liking, watching. Thank you guys so much for watching. Click the subscribe button if you want to see more content like this, and like the video to, you know, keep spreading it out there. Anyways, guys, that's all. I will see you all in the next one.